Hello, welcome back to Kim Reads. We continue with Kirsten Meets Celestin. Chapter 2, A Secret Friend. A few days later, Miss Winston opened class by saying, "I have good news for you today." Her face was flushed, and she held her hands behind her back as though she hid a present there. "We are going to do something special in Powdered Keg School this year. Each one of you will learn a poem. When you've memorized it, you will stand here by the stove and recite it to your classmates. If you do an excellent job, you'll earn a reward of merit." Kirsten slipped down and received. Oh, this was too much. Even if she learned a poem, how could she remember it? And if she did manage to somehow remember it, how could she stand there in Miss Winston's place and say the words out loud? "Just saying your poem is not enough, of course," Miss Winston went on. There was excitement in her voice. "You must speak with feeling. If your poem expresses anger, you must do this." She stretched out her neck and turned down her lips. One of the few boys tried that and laughed until she frowned at them. "If your poem expresses love, you must do this." Now Miss Winston smoothed her forehead, smiled gently, and lowered her eyelids. "There are many feelings to express. This is an excellent thing for your young minds, believe me." Kirsten chewed on her knuckle. Flutters had come back into her stomach again. Miss Winston walked among the students, giving everyone a different poem. When she got to Kirsten, she paged to the back of the first reading book. "Oh, here's a good one for you, Kirsten. It's not long. It will give you a chance to show both anger and love. You lucky girl." She pointed to the poem. To Kirsten, the words seemed to swim on the page like tadpoles in the stream. When Miss Winston moved on, Kirsten said, "Quick, Anna, read it to me." Anna read, "Coo, coo, says the gentle dove. Coo, coo, says its little mate. They play with each other in love and never show anger or hate." As Anna read, Kirsten tried very hard not to cry, but tears came to her eyes. How could she ever learn all those words? She wished she could just vanish from Powder Keg School like a ghost disappearing into the night. The next morning, when Kirsten went down to the stream to fetch Mama a bucket of water, a V of geese was flying south. She stopped on the path to watch the geese. Then she stopped again when she came upon a deer drinking at the stream. She stood very still and waited for the deer to finish drinking. Then she heard a bird's whistle. She looked across the stream. Turtles sunned on a fallen log. A frog jumped in the water. Then among the cattails she saw a dark face watching her. Dark eyes, black hair, and the fringed sleeve of a deerskin dress. An Indian girl stood right there. Kirsten held her breath. The Indian girl looked at her without blinking. "Hello," Kirsten said softly. The Indian girl didn't speak or move, but the word startled the deer into the pines. When Kirsten went back for the Indian girl, she was gone. Kirsten thought maybe she'd only imagined the girl had been there. Maybe her eyes had played tricks on her. She crossed the stream on the stones and walked a little way into the cattails. No one. But when she went back to the shore, she saw there was a footprint in the soft sand. The footprint was a little small than the print left by her own boots. And near the footprint was a blue weed no larger than the gooseberry. The girl must have dropped it. Kirsten stooped and picked up the bead. She wrapped it in her hanky and put it in her apron pocket, and she filled the bucket with water. Kirsten wondered if the girl had been sent for water too. Kirsten wanted to meet her. How could she do that? Would the girl come again? Kirsten had an idea. She set down her bucket, hurried into the woods, and crawled in the fort. She took one of the doll cakes decorated with a circle of tiny snail shells. Then she crossed the stream again and laid the doll cake on the sand by the girl's footprints. If the Indian girl came back to the stream, maybe she'd find the doll cake. If she did, maybe she'd know it was Kirsten who left it there. When Kirsten got back to the cabin, her breakfast waited for her on the table. Mama scolded. "You were gone so long I thought you'd lost your way. Lars and Peter have already left for school. Hurry or you'll be late." All day, Kirsten wondered about the Indian girl. When Kirsten went back to the stream after supper, the doll cake was gone. In its place was the green wing feather of a duck, stuck into the sand like a little flag. Kirsten smiled as she picked up the duck feather and put it in her hanky with her bead. Maybe there was a way to make friends with the dark-eyed girl. Every morning and every evening, when she went to the water, Kirsten looked for the Indian girl. Kirsten practiced walking very quietly through the woods and the ways that she might surprise her. Maybe the girl hid in the cattails, watching her. Kirsten didn't know exactly when the girl came to the stream, but she didn't know she had been there. Because every time Kirsten left a gift on the shore, the girl took it and left something in its place. Once Kirsten left a piece of red yarn wrapped around a white pebble. In its place, she found a length of leather thong as smooth as silk. Kirsten left a little doll she shaped from mud. The leaf stuck on it for a skirt. Then she found a tiny basket woven of grass where the doll had been. Kirsten left a green button on a loop of green thread. It was replaced by a purple bead. Kirsten stung the 2 beads on the leather thong. She got them wrapped in her hanky with the feather and the tiny basket. They were her secret treasures, and the Indian girl was her secret friend. At school, when Kirsten was tired of writing in numbers, of trying to learn her poem, and trying to please Miss Winston, she daydreamed of running off across the prairie with the Indian girl. They wouldn't need to talk. They'd run faster than the wind. How Kirsten wanted to see the mysterious girl again. One evening, she saved her slices of bread and honey from supper. She wrapped the honey sandwich in oak leaves. Then she went to the stream for water. She put the package of leaves on the shore and then waited. Maybe the Indian girl came at dusk. Kirsten said she would meet her no matter what. But the sun was almost down. Kirsten wasn't allowed to stay away from the cabin after sunset. Mama would worry. Please come, Kirsten whispered under her breath, as though that would make the Indian girl appear. And then there she was, in her dress of soft deer skin. The Indian girl slipped silently through the cattails. She stooped and picked up her oak leaf package. She peeled off the leaves, sniffed, and began to eat the bread and honey. As she ate, she looked right at Kirsten. Kirsten didn't speak. She didn't want to frighten the girl away again. Instead, she walked slowly forward, watching the girl. The girl was a bit smaller than Kirsten. Her hair and skin shone as if they had been polished. Kirsten thought she'd never seen eyes so inky black. The Indian girl licked the honey from her finger, and she watched Kirsten too. Dark shadows moved on the stream as Kirsten crossed the stones. When she stood in front of the Indian girl reached into her leather pouch and she wore around her waist. She held out Kirsten a tiny clay pot decorated with markings that might have been made from a sharp twig. Kirsten took the little pot. It was small as an acorn. It's pretty, she breathed. The Indian girl looked at her hand. Slowly, as though she feared she would scare Kirsten, she reached out and touched Kirsten's yellow braid. Then she touched the other one. Kirsten was so pleased that she laughed. She held out. She held. The Indian girl couldn't seem to take her gaze off Kirsten's yellow hair. Again, she stroked one of Kirsten's looped braids. Kirsten touched the girl's beaded necklace. Oh, if only we could have talked to each other. Pretty, Kirsten said. Pretty. The girl's eyes were unblinking as a deer's. She touched Kirsten's apron, which was decorated with a cross-stitch border. She said something. What is it? Tea. Tea. She's saying pretty. Kirsten thought. She wished she could take off her apron and give it to the girl. But Mama would be angry if Kirsten came home without her apron. So instead, she took her hanky from her pocket, opened the little bundle, and showed the girl the gift she saved. The girl made a pleased purring sound deep in her throat. Kirsten put the gift and the little pot into her apron pocket. She held out her hanky to the girl. The hanky had a cross-stitch border in blue and red. Kirsten had sewed it herself. Here, pretty, she said. The Indian girl took the hanky. Tea, she repeated after Kirsten. Then Kirsten realized it was almost night. She didn't hurry. She wouldn't get back to the cabin before dark. Quickly, Kirsten bent down and drew in the sand. She made a setting sun, then she pointed to where the red sun was sinking down beyond the trees. The girl looked at the sun and then at the drawing. She squatted and drew a picture just like Kirsten's in the sand. Now there were 2 suns side by side. Kirsten touched each one. Will you come tomorrow when the sun's like this? She asked. The Indian girl only stared at her. She touched the hanky Kirsten had given her to her cheek. Then she turned and was swiftly gone in the cattail along the stream. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.